Good morning, everyone. I just want to give a quick overview. About several weeks ago, understanding that we were still having different ships that were stuck out at seas, and there would be considerations as to would some of those come into the ports. A unified command group was set up down at the ports that consist of the director of the ports, our Coast Guard commander, members of our representation from the CDC, also looking at members from the Department of Health, and of course having communications going back and forth amongst what we have to deal with now in terms of one last ship or so that we're examining as to whether or not it should come here. This command group also includes BSO personnel as well as our fire rescue chiefs that are operating out of the ports, and there has been a collective group of discussions as to what type of operational considerations need to take place in order for us to provide at least an option for this commission to consider. That type of discussion has been continued for over several days now, in conjunction with communicating with the cruise line vice president himself, who I see is here today. And we are still trying to outline some of the specifics as to what is going to be the best strategy to be put forth to make sure we mitigate the total or any type of harm that would impact our community. I will backtrack and remind the community who's watching, as well as this commission, that this is a humanitarian crisis. This is not something that is exclusive to Broward County in terms of our responsibilities, but yet it has fallen on our footstep. It has fallen on our doorstep for us to make a decision. I know there has been much discussion in reaching out from the community to my specific office as to whether or not the sheriff has the authority to block and refuse to allow this ship to come in, and that is not within the purviews or authorities of the sheriff's office, and there's a lot of different moving parts there. What I will tell you at this point in time, having looked at what has been presented on the preliminary basis in terms of the first sketch or plan that has been developed, we are not there yet. We are not in a position where we have outlined all the facts and specifications that would allow us to accept and take on an added responsibility when we're in a time where Broward County is the epicenter for this state, and we are still uncertain as to what that apex or impact will be for this entire county and the population. And so for my positioning and looking and talking to my staff, we understand that we are the core public safety organization that will have a significant responsibility when it comes to whether or not these members on this ship are allowed to disembark and what the strategy is going to be to get them to their final destinations without creating a burden on our healthcare system here in Broward County or allowing for any type of additional exposure to present itself to the population in which we are responsible for safeguarding. I will remind this commission as well that this is not a decision that should be taken lightly, and nor should it be a decision that is exclusively made emotionally. Everyone is carrying a burden here in terms of what is the social responsible thing to do, what is the humanistic approach to take as this ship has been turned away from several countries already. We are the United States of America, and we have never turned away people in need or those that are sick. But we are under some very, very critical circumstances where we as a county are going to have to determine, are we willing to take on this responsibility if a plan does not outline in very thorough elements a safe and secure environment in which we can execute this. I will tell you, I've been fortunate to work collectively and communicate with our Coast Guard commander, with Captain Bourdain, who has done an exceptional job in terms of putting some of the specifications out there very early on as to what the stipulations would be for her command to allow this ship to come through, and those messagings have been relayed back to the cruise industry, and they are continuing to try to tackle these things. But I will also kind of close out with, because there's some other members, I know the captain's here, we have representation from the cruise line, Bill is here, we also have the cruise director here, and I would encourage you all to take the time to hear from each and every one of these members and their perspective on where we are from an operational standpoint and from a planning standpoint, because every role is essential and none of them can be disregarded for what their concerns are. And with that, ma'am, I'll turn it over back to you as far as any other members or questions or comments you have for me, or perhaps an invitation for anyone else to speak.
Yes.